الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين على مر الأيام والليالي والشهور والسنين أما بعد. As we continue in Usul al-Thalatha or Thalathatu Usul by the great Imam Muhammad ibn Al-Wahab rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah wa jazahu Allahu anna wa 'an As-Sunnah wa 'an al-haq khayr al-jaza'. Well, this day at 1:34 p.m., Sunday, February the 14th, 2021. We're now in the time, according to the Hijri calendar, the 2nd of Rajab, on this day of Yom al-Ahad, Sunday, 1442, after the migration of our Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam. As we continue in the explanation of Thalathatul Usul, and I ask everyone's excuse, or to excuse me for my tardiness today. It happened to me again. Stayed up after Fajr, read, and then after I read, I was reading, and I put my head down for an hour and I overslept. Put it down for a couple of hours and I overslept. So pardon me for my tardiness. But as we go on in Thalathatul Usul, before we start, I wanted to let everyone listen to a caller in which a lot of the common folk listen to, for those who have not well grounded themselves in this religion, for those who are ignorant of the principles of what we're studying now, to listen to this caller and to the speech he says, to see where he's erred or where he's mistaken. So I'll let everyone listen, and I want everyone to scholastically criticize it. Don't start to say he's a fool, he's an idiot. No, give me scholastic benefit on how to criticize or what did this individual, how he erred. His name is Yasir Qadhi. So listen to the clip. All right.
My life, and I preached and I taught and I wrote books defending 1B. Some of the most advanced arguments in the 15 years of my life, and I preached and I taught and I wrote books defending 1B. Some of the most advanced arguments in the English language ever written and ever defending paradigm 1B.
Is it here? Can everyone hear it?
Truly, and so I'm very well.
Where's the speaker at? Can I put this on the iPad? Is the speaker on this side or is it on the other side? It's like right here.
Well familiar with the arguments and counter-arguments for that position. Now, which group holds this position? Generally speaking, it is the followers of Muhammad ibn Al-Wahab and the Najdi movement of Saudi Arabia. Now, which group holds this position? Generally speaking, it is the automatically that has opinion is that the mere action of doing this is in and of itself major shirk. That the action is major shirk. Responded to. Now, with regards to this question.
So like I said, if everyone follows the numbers and the views and the hype, one would think that if they didn't have principles, they'll be deceived by the numbers, right? So just listen to the whole clip. I want everyone to listen thoroughly.
Academically speaking, just purely academically speaking, there are three primary opinions that are found within scholarly.
First, he was talking about, is it permissible to invoke saints? That's what he's saying. That's the whole general concept, right, everyone? Is it permissible to invoke, call on the dead from people who have passed, from the saints? So that's what I want everyone to listen to. That's basically what he's answering. All right.
Circles that claim to be Sunni, okay? Three primary opinions amongst groups of ulama, and they all claim that they are Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah.
First, number one, in this clip, he's making this affair, there's a mistake that he made right here. And I want everyone to be attentive of it. What is it? And this is to let everyone know how those who are elderly, who are older, who have experience, know how to pick out where the mistakes are. just off that, in that beginning, where did he make a mistake at? And I'm going to say it quickly because we got to do class. Number one, the affairs of Tawheed and monotheism. You'll notice that in this clip, he's trying to make it like an affair of the branches of the religion. Like it's a fiqh issue. Like you have this opinion here, you have that opinion here, and you have that opinion here. In regards to our religion, the foundations pertaining to Tawheed and those affairs are all from the usul, they're from the foundations of the religion. And what we firmly believe as the Muslims is what, everyone? That the usul, that the foundations are agreed upon. There is no ikhtilaf. That's a consensus. So I want everyone to realize that. The affairs of the usul of the religion are agreed upon. There is no ikhtilaf to the point where you can open up a door to say, this is a scholar's opinion, that's a scholar opinion, that's a scholar opinion. That's number one. You understand, everyone? So based upon that concept, hold on to that and listen to the rest of the clip. Is everything clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? Is it clear?
The first opinion is...
So you heard it. What did he say? First opinion. So he made the affairs of Tawheed, which is the da'wah of all the prophets and messengers, which agreed upon the old, he made it an issue of what? Instead of making it an issue pertaining to foundation, he made it an issue like it's what? From the branches. Like it's a fiqh issue. You know, you got scholars on this opinion, you have those scholars over here. So that's the first deceit that you hear. You understand? Okay.
That the action of invoking a saint, to call out to a being, to say, Ya so-and-so, do this for me. Okay.
Ya so-and-so, do this for me. Okay. So this act is what? It's an act of what? No. Just listen. This is act of worship. This is ibadah. Calling on the saint, calling on the dead. Okay, so listen.
Okay, Ya so-and-so, Ya Abdul Qadir al-Janani, Ya Ali Madad, Ya Rasulullah, whatever it might be. I'm in trouble, help me. My son is sick, cure him. You know, I need to find a job. You know, help me find a job. The first opinion is that the mere action of doing this is in and of itself major shirk. That the action is major shirk. Now, and so therefore, the action would constitute something that has the potential to expel one from Islam. Now,
does it have the potential? Or does it have what? It will. It will nullify Islam. Not potentially. It will nullify Islam. Right? So listen.
Within this first opinion, let's call this opinion one.
So you keep hearing him saying opinion one. So you see the deceit? The usul of the religion are agreed upon. There's no ikhtilaf. That's what makes us united as far as the people of the truth. Because we know our foundations are what? All agreed upon. It's all agreed upon. That's a consensus. The aqeedah or the affairs pertaining to the most essential, fundamental, important elements of the religion are all agreed upon. There's no ikhtilaf. So no one should never say, this is my opinion, this is my position. It's not a fiqh issue, akhi. These are affairs of usul. There's no ikhtilaf in those affairs. So you to even open up the door to say ikhtilaf is not even what? Acceptable. So from that point right there, you can say what he's saying is what? Rejected. And this is a caller, a so-called caller, that you'll find if you look at the numbers, a person could be deluded or be misguided and beguiled by the number of views or what have you. But if you learn the foundations, you will be able to what? Certain people start to now bring their emotions to argue, but now we're going based upon principles of what we learned in this book, in Usul al-Thalatha, or Thalatha to Usul, and apply it to what these people say. So is it clear, everyone?
Shirk, you have two sub-opinions, 1A and 1B. 1A says that therefore the one who does it becomes a mushrik. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No way out. It's like, a'udhu billah, somebody intentionally taking the mushaf, a'udhu billah, and throwing it on the floor, stomping on it, knowing it is the mushaf, wanting to disrespect the mushaf. There is no excuse, unless you're threatened by death, there is no excuse to do something of this nature. So any Muslim who invokes the dead, who calls out to a saint, who invokes the Prophet ﷺ, group 1A would say that action of theirs has expelled them from Islam and they are no longer a Muslim and they need to re-accept the Shahada and restate the Shahada and repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or else they are outside the fold of Islam. Okay, this is 1A. 1B says the action is an action of shirk, but the Muslim who does the action and is very ignorant, very unaware, living in a faraway land, or not really having studied the Quran, not knowing the evidences, that Muslim who simply follows what his society says, follows a misguided scholar, that we shall excuse him out of his ignorance and we'll cut him some slack. So we'll say, the action is an action of shirk, but this Muslim is excused because he is ignorant. And ignorance is an excuse, according to 1B, for this action. Okay?
Okay. In regards to now being excused, now, okay, like I said, remove your emotions. Now I want everyone, when you always, and I want everyone to learn this, when you always criticizing an individual, do not let your emotions come into play. You have to be relaxed. When you scholastically criticizing someone, you have to be relaxed and you cannot be emotionally motivated. I want everyone to learn that. Because sometimes emotions come into play and it can sometimes allow you to react in a manner that's not correct because of emotions, when something is emotionally driven. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Always scholastically criticizing to keep your composure. And do not let your emotions get involved. Always let the affairs of the religion or what is pleasing to Allah be your guide. For one, if he gets upset, of course, within yourself, you're going to be upset for Allah. Because you know the religion of Allah is being transgressed against. So for that reason, of course, a person will be very upset. But do not allow that to cloud your correct judgment. You understand, everyone? So what he's saying now here, there is what they call an excuse due to ignorance. That does have its place in our religion. From those who are in Egypt, who worship graves. There are Muslims all over the dunya, especially those who are well engrossed in Sufiya and grave worshiping saints. And that's basically who he's trying to defend at the end of the day. Especially the Sufis from the Naqshbandiya and the Deobandiyya, who call on the dead, who invoke the dead, and invoke the people who have passed or what have you. So it's basically one of the things that he's doing, and also defending the Shia. We'll get into that later. But the point of the matter is, no doubt, of those from the countries that we see of them doing affairs or indulging in affairs that's unacceptable, such as worshiping graves. It's not for one to go into Egypt and say, look at all these people who are grave worshippers, all these kuffar here. No doubt. We know that those people are doing an act of kufr, but we do not hasten towards what? Declaring them outside the fold of Islam, unless we know that the proofs have been established and the barrier that's protecting them from leaving outside the fold of Islam is that they've been corrupted by the evil scholars of that particular land. So, being excused due to ignorance does have its place. So let's keep in mind what he said. That does have its place. So keep in mind, just listen.
So 1A, we don't excuse for ignorance. It is basically anybody who says the kalima should know better. And if you say La ilaha illallah and then you call to the saint, automatically that has made you a mushrik. And then 1B says, well, there are evidences that have their, misinterpretation, and a person's mind is not fully aware and he's an ignorant person, and so he follows his scholarly community and class, and therefore we will make an excuse for the ignorant person and we will treat that person as a Muslim, even though we will state that your action is an action of shirk and kufr. So outwardly, we treat him as a Muslim and we consider him to be a Muslim. But in reality, we say your deed is the deed of shirk. And if you know better, and if you study the evidences, then really you have left the fold of Islam. So 1B, the action is shirk, but the person is excused because of ignorance. Now, 1B was the position that I myself followed for 15 years of my life, and I preached and I taught and I wrote books defending 1B. Some of them.
Yasir Qadhi was there in the University of Medina while I was there. So I know him also. I know him not on a real deep personal level, but I know him. So you know now that he used to write books, and I'm sure everyone is familiar with certain books he's translated and pertaining to Tawheed. So these affairs he's not ignorant of, he's very aware of, as he's admitting to himself, right? So listen.
Most advanced arguments in the English language ever written and ever defending paradigm 1B were actually by yours truly, and so I'm very well familiar with the arguments and counter arguments for that position. Now, which group holds this position? Generally speaking, it is the followers of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab and the Najdi movement of Saudi Arabia.
So now I ask everyone, so now he's saying that the affair pertaining to polytheism, invoking other than Allah, calling on the dead, he said that's a position of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. Is this correct? If he was making a scholastic-based criticism, what would you say? Everyone. Is this statement correct? What would you say? He's saying that this opinion of invoking other than Allah, which he's going to bring some more details too. He's going to say something else because it's almost finished. The clip is almost done. Invoking other than Allah will expel you from the fold of Islam. It's an act of disbelief. It's an act of polytheism. So he said that this opinion is what he used to follow for 40 years or what have you. And he said that this opinion is the da'wah of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. Is this statement correct? Where's the deceit? Hold on.
This was his call, but those who consider it, it's based on the book of the Sunnah.
That's what you say. Nah. Just say this. Just save your statement. Say, Yasir Qadhi, first of all, this is not the da'wah of Muhammad Abdul Wahab. This is the da'wah of all the prophets. That's how you do it. This is the da'wah and the call of all the prophets. And the evidences and the proofs is this and this. This is not the da'wah of Muhammad Abdul Wahab, and that's it. Rather, it's the da'wah of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, alayhi salatu wasalam, and it's the call that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the last prophet and messenger to all humanity with. Then you bring your evidence. Bang, bang, bang. That's it. So he's trying to say that this call is a call of Muhammad Abdul Wahab. This is the call of who? Of all the prophets and messengers. But he's trying to make it as if it's just a what? It's just a call of a certain scholar from the scholars of our religion. So you see the deceit? You understand? Well, we already discussed that. We already talked about. See, already he opened the door of deceit because he made the affair of the usul affair of the branches. He made the foundations like a what? Like it's a branch. So that in itself is automatically what? Incorrect. For the person who has these foundations, as soon as he opened it up and made this affair like a fiqh issue, automatically you know he's what? He's mistaken. You understand? Because now he's starting to say this opinion here with this scholar here says this, and this scholar here says, yeah, this is not a fiqh issue. This is pertaining to usul. Is it clear, everyone?
Hadith movement of India and Pakistan, that this movement generally, it is very clear-cut that the action is always an action of shirk. 1A says, therefore the person is mushrik. And 1B says that the person might be excused because of ignorance. Now again, I'm being academically historic over here, whether you agree with this or not, but it is the truth. The early followers of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab were on opinion 1A, and the person himself was upon opinion 1A, but his later followers and the modern school of that trend, the modern scholars of that movement, generally speaking, they're upon 1B. So this is a disconnect between the early and the founder and the early direct descendants, the grandsons, and the people who were proponents of the movement pre-1900, that generally speaking, they were more sympathetic to 1A And that is how they dealt with their opponents, regardless of snippets and phrases that one finds in their books. But in reality, they treated their opponents as if they are non-Muslims, if they disagreed with their interpretation. And modern followers of the school, many of my own teachers are 1B. And 1B is basically the action is shirk, but we'll cut them some excuse out of ignorance. Okay, so this is the first opinion. The second opinion, which is now the opinion that I follow, the second opinion is the opinion.
You heard what he said. This is the opinion I follow. So this is what he's about to say.
That invoking the saints, it is haram.
Invoking the saints is haram. Now listen.
And it is evil. And it is an evil innovation, a religious innovation, a bid'ah. And it
is this now haram? So basically saying like it's again, like it's a fiqh issue, right? It's a haram, halal, haram. So he's making it from the affairs of mu'amalat. It's not affair of usul and aqa'id. So he keeps focusing and utilizing it from that door that it's a fiqh issue. It's haram. It's not really a big deal. So listen.
It is a stepping stone to shirk. It is open, it is evil. And it is is the opinion that invoking the saints, it is haram. And it is evil. And it is an evil innovation, a religious innovation, a bid'ah. And it is a stepping stone to shirk.
So invoking the saints and calling on other than Allah, is it a door to open up to polytheism, or is it self-polytheism? It is polytheism. It's not shirk asghar. So basically he's making major polytheism, he's switching it to making it what? Minor polytheism. Because we know minor polytheism, as we go in the book to learn, that minor polytheism is a way that will lead to what? Major. So he's saying here in this particular context, contextually, he's saying what? The major polytheism is not major polytheism. If you invoke other than Allah, or you call on the saint, or you call on the dead, or dead saints, that's not major polytheism. That's what? It's minor because it opens up the door for major polytheism. Is that correct? Is that correct, everyone? Is that correct or not? It's not correct. Invoking the saints is not the door that opens it up. It is major polytheism. There's no dalil in the kitab and sunnah that can substantiate what he's saying. He will never be able to bring evidence to support his claim. He cannot find it. You'll never find any evidence that's in the book of Allah, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that say that calling on the dead or calling on other than Allah is considered what? Minor polytheism that opens the door to major polytheism. No doubt, as you learn in Kitab al-Tawheed, there is major and minor polytheism, but this is not from them. Rather, what he's saying, or rather what we say, and what is the truth that comes in the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that is major polytheism, not what? Not minor. Based upon what the evidence show and prove.
It's opening the doors to shirk, but it is not shirk in and of itself unless that action is accompanied by a belief that you're calling out to a God. It is accompanied by a belief that you are deifying that entity that you are calling. So, opinion 2.
Is that correct? What he just said? Is that also correct? So basically, I could call on the dead. It's justifiable, as long as I don't have the belief that they are deities. I'm asking everyone: wasn't that the polytheism of the Quraysh with the message of Allah? Wasn't that it? That was the polytheism of the who? Of the Quraysh. They didn't believe that what? What did they believe? That those they used to invoke other than Allah were not Allah, but however they used to what? Be our shufa'ah. They used to do and be our middlemen, our mediators between us and Allah. They are the mediators. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself condemned them for that what? That act. Even though you don't raise them to the level of Allah, but the mere fact of your action of you invoking them, having the belief that they're mediators, is still considered what? Major polytheism. So even though they don't have the belief that they're deitized or what have you, still at the same time, Allah in his book and so many ayats have said that this act, even though you don't have the belief, But you invoking them and asking them, and you having to believe that they're just mediators between you and Allah, is still considered what? Major polytheism. So you see the other error that this individual has made? You see the other error? See the deception. It's very deceptive what he's saying. And this is the reason why we tell people do not listen to these listeners, because if you do not have these proper fundamentals and understand them properly, he can run circles around you, trying to make the affairs of Tawheed like it's a fiqh issue. And then you'll run around as some of the Muslims do, what they say, oh yeah, this opinion, that's the opinion of Muhammad Abdul Wahab. Yeah, first of all, it's not a fiqh issue. The da'wah of the Tawheed is something that is agreed upon with all the prophets, unanimously, without any differences amongst them at all. That's not an affair that's open for fiqh for anyone to take their opinion in, at all. That's not from the branches. These are from the foundations. And from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preferred us over the other religions, is that Allah has protected us in our foundations. Protect the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the way up to the day of resurrection. The principles or the affairs pertaining to belief and conviction are all protected. They are not open for ikhtilaf. From the biggest evidences and proofs for that, if you go to the Sahaba, they were all united in affairs pertaining to the usul and the foundations of the religion and belief. That is a consensus amongst all the scholars. And to open that door up, and to say, oh, it's open for ikhtilaf, it's susceptible for differing, or what have you, that is a very dangerous belief, because now it would justify for everyone to be upon different belief systems in different types of ways, in different types of methodologies. That one can speak ill of the Sahaba, and you could say, oh, it's ikhtilaf, ya akhi. You could believe that Allah is everywhere. Oh, it's ikhtilaf, ya akhi. Oh, Allah doesn't have names and attributes. Oh, the scholars differ. Allah Ta'ala protected us from that in the foundations. That's what makes us what? Unified. What makes the people unified? If they all accept the proper belief and the proper conviction of what the Prophet ﷺ was upon, that is what keeps us what? Unified. Any different than that, it will make us like the previous nations from before, where everyone could be upon different beliefs, different types of manahij, methodologies, and everyone would just accept it. And as a result of it, what will be is like the Yahud, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about them. You think they're there together, but their hearts are divided. So if you now open that door of ikhtilaf in regards to the foundations of the religion, you made us like what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about them. Because their hearts are divided based upon different beliefs. But Allah Ta'ala removed us from that based upon us being unified in the usul. Somebody's knocking on the door. I don't know who it is.
Says that the action is evil and haram and bid'ah and munkar and a stepping stone to shirk, but it is not necessarily shirk in and of itself. And if a person had...
That's enough, inshallah. طيب. Was it clear, everyone? You see the errors of this caller, of this individual? So inshallah, I hope that is clear. So these are the affairs to let you know how these type of callers are widespread. They are widespread, and if one does not know their foundations, they will be misguided by the numbers and the views and the people who are clapping behind him and pushing him. As I said the other class, Allahu A'lam, these type of people come within the Muslims to keep their ranks weak. They come in the guise of so-called caller with proper qualifications, so-called. And what they'll do is they'll call to these type of deviant calls and methodologies and corruptive ideologies and ways, not realizing that they're keeping the whole Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam weak. The non-Muslims, I do not find it surprising, as a lot of people, alhamdulillah, a lot of the colleagues and peers from amongst the brothers believe that he's being financially supported by the enemies of Islam in order to keep the Muslims weak, to come with these type of calls to justify polytheism. Because I said Friday, what did I say? We said that the non-Muslims study the Muslims. What happened years ago? how Islam spread it, and it had taken over everywhere, all over the dunya, from China all the way to Spain in a very short time frame, and they don't mention it to anyone. They try to keep it under the carpet. They don't want anything like that happening again. That was very scary on their part. That was very frightening what the Muslims did in a short period of time. Like I said, we know that what happened during the spread of Islam, especially during the time of the Sahaba who came after, of course, them taking down them taking down Persia and Rome was on the level of, as if we know today, similar to what a person would think of taking down China and Russia with just mere sticks and what have you, and primitive type of weaponry. So what they did was that's amazing and astonishing. They studied that. They know that. How did they take down these major empires? Rome and Persia? And it all started from one city in Medina? One small city, which is known to have just a bunch of dates and whatever, date palm trees. Spread it to the point where they took down the biggest empires of the dunya. You don't think the non-Muslims study these things? They study it and they look and they're amazed at it. Like, whoa, this is something major. So the fact they took down Rome and Persia was on the level, like we said, of these days and times, with taking down who? Taking down China and Russia, both. It was on that level. So they're trying to prevent that happening again. So why can we keep the Muslims weak? They studied it, so they know that the source of their power is that what, everyone? Them being unified in where? In the foundation. Them being unified in the foundation. So that's why you see these callers, they always try to open it up, the door of what? Difference of opinion. Even in the foundation, Yahi. The foundation is what makes the Muslims what? Strong and be unified in those affairs. Because if the Muslims rid themselves of all these polluted, corruptive ideologies of polytheism and bid'ah and Sufiya and all these other affairs, the power of the Muslims will be restored. That's what they're afraid of. So that's the reason why they come with these type of callers who are deluded, who have been polluted by Orientalists and rationalists and all these other people, and they push them forward. In the name of Islam, preach your call of saying that it's difference of opinion in the affairs of worship and things of that nature, to keep them what? To keep the Muslims divided. That's the ultimate goal. To keep them weak in order that one day, to keep them at bay, to make sure that they never realize that the affairs of Aqidah is so important that if they unify upon that, the Muslims will be unstoppable. They know that. So they push these type of callers forward to pollute the minds of the Muslims and to keep them extremely weak. Because like we said, once they rid themselves of this type of nonsense, for example, that Allah is not above the heavens, that they rid themselves of those type of beliefs, Allah is not above the heavens, or that it's permissible to worship the dead, it's permissible to commit shirk. If the Muslims rid themselves of that and they establish what the message of Allah was upon, like we said, the power of the Muslims will be what, everyone? Restored. They'll be unstoppable after that. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that the Muslims will wake up one day and they'll be restored. Their power will be restored because they unify where? In the foundations. Notice I keep saying unify where? In the foundations. To let one know that the affairs of the foundations are all what? Unified. That's what they're afraid of. So they put these callers, they financially support them, monetarily support them, push them forward, and they know that the masses from the common folk of the Muslims are going to listen. And they're going to put their ears to it, and they're going to what? They're going to also agree with those matters. So as a result of it, their ranks remain extremely weak. Is it clear, everyone? Jade. So let's go back to the book. We have a couple of minutes and then we'll stop, inshallah.